Welcome to Sticks Up High, a PhillySportsNetwork.com production. I'm your host, Matt Stinger, also known as Delco Dope on Twitter, where you can follow along there, follow along here, or follow along on Facebook. Sticks Up High, PhillySportsNetwork.com.
Let's go Flyers! Let's go Flyers!
Yes, indeed. Let's go Flyers. Welcome into episode 3 of Sticks Up High. I am your host, Matt Stinger. This is a PhillySportsNetwork.com production, and thank you for joining us. The Flyers are on a tear. They're flying high, having won 4 straight after a disaster in Boston. We're going to get to some of the game notes coming up. The last time I talked or spoke to you all was right after the first game of the season where the Flyers crushed the Penguins and all was right in the world. Some news and notes. That's a great word. News and notes. We're trying something different this week. Well, I am anyway. As someone who tries to be a perfectionist with this, I tend to take my time and edit as much as possible. And I realized that was just taking way too much time up to try and get a good episode out. So this week, we're trying it new. We're going to just kind of roll. Each segment is just going to go back to back and me talking. I got my script here in front of me and what I want to talk about, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. I will try to keep down on the pauses and the thinking while speaking, elongated uhs and ands. But like I asked before, please bear with me as I continue to work on bringing you something of good quality and learning how to do this podcasting. So let's get right into it. All right, so like I said, I am going to go over some of the game notes from the last 9 games that we missed. We already spoke last time of the Flyers beating the Penguins, like I said, so we're going to start with the January 15th game, which was the second game of a doubleheader against the Penguins. It took place on Friday. The game summary was all about TK. He scored 2 first-period goals in a span of 1 minute and 59 seconds en route to a hat trick and a 3-0 Flyers lead. They were able to convert that to a 5-2 win. Konechny's first goal was on the power play at the 7:27 mark, followed by an even strength tally at 9:26. Ivan Provorov also scored, making it 3-0 at 2 minutes and 4 seconds after Konechny's goal. The Flyers held that 3-0 lead for 4 minutes and 3 seconds, but Pittsburgh did trim the advantage. Surprise, surprise, Sidney Crosby again. He put one in, and 30 seconds later, Brandon Tanev, who is not known for his scoring, except for when he's playing the Flyers apparently, made an even strength goal. With 3-2 left in the first period, 3-2 with 6 minutes and 29 seconds left in the first period. Then the scoring kind of calmed down, and they went both teams scoreless for nearly 13 minutes into the third period when Konechny added the insurance goal to complete his hat trick with 7 minutes and 7 seconds left to play. Oskar Lindblom then iced things with an empty netter with 2:08 to go. Carter Hart looked good in the win. He made 31 saves, while Tristan Jarry absorbed another loss, allowing 3 goals on just 6 shots before being pulled for Casey DeSmith. The stars of the game was obviously Travis Konechny was the first star, followed by Carter Hart and Oskar Lindblom. Konechny's hat trick was the first career hat trick, and he also added an assist for a 4-point game. It was the first hat trick for a Flyer since JVR recorded one on March 15th, 2019. And it was the first at the Wells Fargo Center since January 16th, 2019, and that was when Couturier had a hattie versus Boston. And it was the first against the Penguins since Voracek had 3 goals on February 20th, 2013. Claude Giroux also had 2 assists and was 12 for 17 on the faceoffs for a 70.6% faceoff win. And Voracek and Van Riemsdyk also had 2 assists for that game. So the Flyers, again, take it 2 from the Pittsburgh Penguins to start the season, which was really, really good start. And it's always nice to see them beat the Penguins. So they jumped out 2 games, 2 wins, looking good, put up 11 goals in 2 games against the Penguins. It'll be short-lived as the Buffalo Sabres A revamped Buffalo Sabres roster came in and handed the Flyers their first loss. It was a 6-1 drubbing at the Wells Fargo Center. They opened up the contest with 3 second-period goals in just under 5 minutes, and riding the momentum to a 6-1 win, Curtis Lazar, Sam Reinhart led the way, and they each had 2 goals. Nick Aube-Kubel was the lone goal scorer for the Flyers. Carter Hart started the contest, but was only able to make 18 saves on 22 shots in 28 minutes and 9 seconds before being pulled for Brian Elliott, who made his season debut with 13 saves on 15 shots. Stars of the game were Sammy Reinhart, Curtis Lazar, and Jack Eichel. It should be noted, one thing I didn't talk about in the previous game was Sean Couturier did get injured in the first period and hasn't played since, and Morgan Frost was able to play in this game. He was called up and played 12 minutes and 10 seconds in his season debut, going 7 for 13 on faceoffs. Farabee left the Flyers with 4 shots on goal. Other goals scored were Henry. I'm going to butcher this name. I should have looked at it before even trying to read this, but Jokiharju had another goal, and Lazar again, and Reinhardt had 2. And Victor Olofsson added another tally in the final minutes for the 6 goals. So the Flyers, actually that game, the Flyers looked bad. Buffalo was all over them. They just all over them. They were faster. They looked like they wanted it more. Now, at the time, the Sabres had not won yet on the season, and they were hungry. And they were hungrier than the Flyers. Flyers just looked like they kind of were going to win it on talent alone, and it wasn't the case. The revamped Buffalo team came to play. But just the next night, the Flyers won't have to wait long, as they took on January 19th, they took on the Sabres again, this time beating them 3-0. Brian Elliott with the shutout. He actually was amazing. He made 40 saves for his 41st career shutout. 40 saves shutout. It was a new career high in a shutout. His previous was 37 saves done against St. Louis. Actually did it twice while in St. Louis. I'm sorry. Once was against the Kings on March 22nd, 2012, and the other was on March 22nd, 2016 against the San Jose Sharks. A 40-save shutout was most for the Flyers, and a shutout since Steve Mason had a 46 saves in a 1-0 shutout loss against the Islanders. It was on the November 24th, 2014. All right, so about this game, Konechny, TK, opened a scoreless game with 2:09 left in the second period. And the Flyers, Oscar Lindblom had sprung him on a breakaway, sprung Konechny on a breakaway for the game winner. In the third, Voracek and Kevin Hayes each scored, Hayes is being an empty netter. For the Sabres, their goaltender Carter Hutton made 19 of 20 saves. And we're going to talk about that a little bit with the saves because it was kind of important. And we're going to try and make this a little bit quicker here. I'm getting a little bit too in-depth with these. So let's talk about the Boston series, the beatdown in Boston, as it were. The Flyers on Thursday, January 21st, went up to TD Garden and started out really nice, leading 2-0 after 2 periods. All right, that's pretty awesome. 2-goal lead, right? Yeah, not so much if you're the Flyers, as they ended up dropping the game 5-4 in a shootout loss. The Bruins, not the Sabres. I was thinking of Sabres. The Bruins scored 4 third-period goals to tie the game. Claude Giroux scored his first of the year on a power play, which was later changed to Travis Konechny goal. But it looked like a really, really sweet snipe by Giroux on the left side there on a power play. JVR followed up with his first of 2 goals on the evening with 2:29 to play in the frame. Boston scored twice in 69 seconds to tie. All right, so they tied it 2-2. Sanheim put the Flyers back on top with a deflected goal. But Nick Ritchie retied the game on the power play. And, I'm sorry, Brandon Carlo gave Boston its first lead in less than 2 minutes. But the Flyers took advantage of another power play when JVR tied the game. Carter Hart stopped 39 of 43 shots And the stars of the game were Jake DeBrusk, Nick Ritchie, and Tuukka Rask. Tuukka Rask had made some amazing saves in that game, despite giving up 4 goals. I mean, there were some saves you're like, how? Just how? The overtime went scoreless. They went to the shootout, and Jake DeBrusk was the only person to score. Interesting news from that game was Voracek got his 700 career point, and he is moved into sole possession for 5th place on the Flyers all-time list, passing Mark Recchi. And the Flyers were only 37% on faceoffs. That's one of the things about the Bruins is they're going to win faceoffs. Patrice Bergeron is one of the best in the business. Go up against the Flyers and not having Couturier, that's tough. That's a tough one. In the game back up to the Boston game, not the Buffalo last game. Phil Myers and Morgan Frost both were injured, so they missed this game. Therefore, Ivan Provorov played 30 minutes and 46 seconds. His previous high was 30 minutes and 20 seconds. Ironically done in Boston on January 31st, 2019. The Flyers allowed 4 goals in the first time since the 2019 versus Detroit. All right, so that was game 1, and that was a bummer. That was a bummer of a game. The Flyers gave up a 2-goal lead and should have gotten the win there. They were playing really well. That third period got away from them. Fortunate to tie it, but we got a point, and they were to live to the next game on Saturday the 23rd. But the Boston Bruins had other things to say as they put another 6-1 whooping on the Flyers. All right, during that time, the little guy, the little ball of hate, Brad Marchand, he scored twice, as did Patrice Bergeron, to drive Boston's win. And it was Boston struck first, but Kevin Hayes tied it. And then the Bruins, it was all Bruins after that. Carter Hart got the loss. He was only able to make 20 saves on 26 shots. And Yaroslav Halak got the start for the Bruins. And he was able to turn away 16 of 17 Flyers shots. So as we move into the Jersey series, the Flyers are on a 2-game losing streak. They've lost 3 of their last 4, albeit 1 was in overtime. But the interesting thing is they were being outshot. In every single game, they were outshot. Now, I wrote about this in an article at PhillySportsNetwork.com that talked about their shot differential from last year. And last year, the Flyers faced the fewest amount of shots in the NHL. And now this year, they're not. So before we get to the Devils series, we're just going to talk about the team stats, okay? So the Flyers this was going into the Islanders series. They were holding at 34.1 shots a game they were giving up. 34.1 shots against per game was the 3rd worst in the NHL. And they were only averaging 23.8 shots a game, which was 2nd worst. All right. Oddly, though, they were scoring 3.5 goals a game, which was 6th best. However, giving up 3.1 goals against per game, which was 8th worst, which they were tied with Colorado and Vancouver, and I think the Capitals were worse than they are. So just, some trends and concerns moving forward, which kind of want to keep an eye on as the Flyers progress during the season. And the Flyers lead Boston having lost 2 in a row. And the one thing that there was talk of was Carter Hart's reaction to the 6-1 loss. And I got to say, I was kind of surprised seeing people give their opinions on Twitter about how unprofessional it was and you should be a role model and this, all the kind of like he shouldn't do that. Well, he even came out and apologized for the way he reacted. Carter Hart does not show his frustrations easily. He is a very mature goaltender. This is a position he's was worked for his whole life to get to. He's taken the preparations to be able to bounce back from these things. But when you lose 6-1, and some of those goals was kind of some defensive lapses that breaking your stick, it happens, and he got frustrated. He showed it, took it out, broke his stick. Some people on Twitter were like, "I'd be more angry if he didn't act like this." But for the young man who is a competitor, he wants to be the best in the game. He wants to be the best there ever was. He let his frustration show. He didn't feel it was professional and apologized for it. I don't think any of his teammates and what they've said in interviews thought it was unprofessional, and they kind of were right there with him with the frustration. So to focus on that and focus on Carter Hart breaking a stick, to me, was kind of silly, but that's the way of social media, and it kind of that's the way it feeds off of stuff. You go that way. So moving on to the next game, as the Flyers went to Jersey, it was pretty obvious that Moose was going to get the start there, and he did. And the Flyers end up winning 5-3. They were able to handle some of the Devils' speed, but again, the Flyers score early, and they put a couple goals on the Devils. So they got a nice 2-goal lead, 2 power play goals by JVR. This game was set up for the Flyers because the officials were slanted one way. Besides the one Claude Giroux penalty, it was the Flyers had 5 power plays to the Devils' 4. So it was, it's one of those games where you watch the officials and you're like, they're going to give the Devils something. And they never did. It was all one way. So Flyers get 2 power play goals, but in the second period, the Devils tie it up. Michael McLeod and Travis Zajac each puts one in. Travis Zajac has been doing that against Flyers for years, as he's always fun. And then in the third period, once again, the Flyers back at it. Nolan Patrick, Joel Farabee, and Ivan Provorov hits the empty netter. And then the Devils did get one back with at the 18:52 mark, but that was it. It was a nice bounce back win after what took place in Boston. Moose again with a nice game, nice performance. In Carter Hart's absence, and it gave Hart a nice rest. It kind of recharges batteries and so forth. But it would be the next game where Carter Hart would come back and reassert himself as the goalie we all know he is. So the Devils again, this time on Thursday, January the 28th, they took on the Devils, obviously. But the interesting thing was the choices that Alain Vigneault made right before the game. He decided to put Nate Prosser in and Eric Gustafsson, who both were scratched. Actually, Prosser hadn't played a game yet. Actually, he hadn't played a game since January 17th of 2019 when he was with Minnesota. But Gustafsson was scratched the night before. And what you saw was AV must have a pretty good idea of his team, because after Damon Severson got the first goal 7 minutes and 11 seconds into the contest, that would be it for the Devils. Now, Severson had a nice he grabs the puck at the Devils blue line. I think it was the Flyers tried to get it in deep but couldn't. So that's an issue, that we'll talk about in a minute here. But he comes up, takes it from his blue line into the Flyers, kind of crosses up Gustafsson a little bit, and then just fires one that right off the wide side post and in. And it would be the only chink in his armor, as just over 2 minutes later, the Flyers would get a goal from the most unlikely source, the man who hadn't played in over 2 years, Nate Prosser. It was a nice little play. It was a face-off win back to Gustafsson, and I remember watching it because I was watching Prosser sneak in on the backside, and the shot went in, bounced around, right to Prosser, tapped in the rebound. For the first goal, ties the game. it was pretty cool to see, and it was really cool to see the Flyers' reaction. And they even talked more on about how Prosser is a complete team guy. He does everything for the team, and just somebody that is well liked in the dressing room. And to get that goal, they all loved it. Michael Raffl also had a goal in the third period, and Claude Giroux picked up the insurance for his first at 6:26 mark. And that was it. Ended up with 31 saves. Hart ended up with 31 saves, taking a win. Scott Wedgwood, the Devils netminder, absorbed the loss, and the stars of the game were Carter Hart, Claude Giroux, and Eric Gustafsson had 2 assists. Claude Giroux's goal was something pretty awesome to see. It was after a face-off, his stick got wrestled away from him. He skated around, grabbed his stick, and just kept charging forward to the net and took a slap pass from Gustafsson and redirected it in. So Giroux got off the schneid there, and it was another sweep and a good sweep. It was the Devils are an up-and-coming team, and they were looking pretty good on the season. They were sitting at 3-1 or 3-1-1, and the Flyers showed them, hey, not so fast. Now we get into the last 2 games of the season, and this is 2 games of thus far, and it was the last 2 nights, Saturday the 30th versus the Islanders, and Sunday the 31st versus those damn Islanders that knocked us out of the playoffs. Us, as in us Flyers. Not me. I don't play for them. I'm just a dope who talks into a microphone and writes some words. So Saturday, January 30th, before the game, Travis Konecny is scratched. Sam Morin is in, making his first appearance since the beginning of the 2019-2020 season. Only this time, Big Sam Morin will be playing the wing and looking to see if he can bring some toughness into the Flyers lineup. It'll be his 5th game since being drafted in the first round. And Morin played a little bit over 5 minutes. He had a shot on goal, 3 hits at a block. He was -1 on the night. I'd like to see more out of Morin, but granted, with a position change like that, it's going to be kind of difficult for him for now. Let him work up to it, but we'll bring an element of toughness that the Flyers seem to lack. Now, TK was benched, and it was reasons were that trying to get him to buy into play the right way. There's been talk about that. He hasn't really been performing, but it was interesting that AV said, listen, I don't care if you're the last year's All-Star or not, you play it or you sit. And Phil Myers was coming back into the lineup, which was huge, and especially for the defense, especially for Travis Sanheim. Sanheim seems to be a more comfortable player back there when he's paired with Phil Myers. He's a little more confident, and he tends to play a better game and such. But it was great to see Phil Myers back in the lineup. It was good to see Sam Morin in the lineup. So the Islanders come in, and the Flyers, once again, they jump. Actually, no, I'm sorry, not once again. The Flyers jump out to the first period, and they look really good. They're establishing their forecheck. They're able to clear the zone. They end up just jumping all over them and putting 2 goals in the first period. But Jake Voracek and Kevin Hayes each scored. They were very good passing plays, like cross passes, tap-in goals. And it was nice to see. Claude Giroux got an assist. JVR got an assist. And they look to be moving really well. But the Islanders are the Islanders, and they are a well-coached team with Barry Trotz. So you knew they were going to come back. And it just was a matter of, would you be able to kind of weather that storm? There again, the one thing I talked about before with the shot differential, and as I wrote in my piece earlier, was that the shots on goal or lack of shots on goal are a concerning trend, but it's not the be-all end-all. The be-all end-all is the wins and the goals that they are scoring. So the Flyers seem to be comfortable scoring with not as many shots on goal as they give up. But the worrisome thing is those long trends. The long trends they go without even getting a shot on net. And this was evident in this game as the Flyers lost the momentum to the Islanders. After the Hayes' goal, it was 6 minutes and 5 seconds until they ended the period. Not one shot on goal. So Hayes' goal was at 13:55 of the first period. And they didn't get a shot on goal. They had one shot on goal in the first 17 minutes of the second period. Ended up with 3 in the period, but, I mean, 4 shots in over 30 minutes is against a team like the Islanders. Just to be in that game tells you just how good the Flyers are. And Carter Hart, again, really good in net. He 26 saves on 28 shots for the game. The Islanders tied it at 2-2 in the second period, and then the third period was just, back and forth. Pretty much a majority of Islanders play. The Flyers were sloppy. They weren't able to get the puck cleared. They had trouble with the Islanders' forecheck. They were trying long passes, which kind of it's a head scratcher with those long passes. The long stretch passes, trying to catch them was not working. The Islanders knock pucks down. I mean, they knock them down, and they stop you from doing that. And that's, that's why they're so dangerous. Plus, they got that speed. Anders Lee is just an absolute man in front of the net. He would look good in orange and black, wouldn't he? But it's just, it was one of those games where the Flyers came out on fire, and then it just got away from them, and they were very fortunate. Scott Lawton scores the overtime winner on a beautiful play by Shane Gostisbehere, who's been back in the lineup for a couple games now, to set up that goal. Mentioned Jake Voracek's goal that gave him a 6-game point streak at the time. And Drew, just at the beginning of the game, Drew looked like he was on another level. Actually, him and Voracek as well. Skating hard, forechecking hard, going after it. Really, really good. Really good game by their part, especially in the beginning in that first period. So with that, and Lawton getting his first goal of the season, that was a very good win. And I made it 3 in a row, and they come right back with the Islanders the next night. So, the Flyers are going to go with Moose. They're going to go with Elliott. The Islanders, who had Semyon Varlamov in the first game, went with their backup, Ilya Sorokin. So, again, you knew it was going to be another tough game. The Islanders are a pesky team. They're fast, and Barzal's all over the ice. You can't give him any room, but it was making for hopefully you didn't get a letdown. You didn't want the Islanders leaving Philadelphia with 3 points. They had one. You wanted to limit it to 1 or 2 points at the worst. And the Flyers did that. As it was the Joel Farabee show. Old young Beezer scored the Flyers 3 regulation goals for his first career hat trick, which is a great accomplishment for the young man, and he is the second youngest Flyer ever to score a hat trick at 20 years old and 341 days. The other Flyer, well, he did it 4 times, and that, of course, was Big E Eric Lindros. So, obviously, the stars of the game were Joel Farabee was number 1. And you know what? I'm getting ahead of myself because there is a little bit to talk about this game. So Farabee gets the Hattie. New York, again, outshoots the Flyers. The Flyers had a dreaded 2-goal lead when another dreaded 2-goal lead when they were up 3-1 in the third, and the Islanders came back to tie it. And again, it's just like one of those, what do the Flyers have to do to win a game in regulation against the Islanders? Now, listen, we can't complain. A win's a win, and they're beating the Islanders, but that's 5 in a row that when they did have beaten the Islanders, they needed extra time. So that's something that you hope they're able to close it out. And look, that 2-goal lead loss has been something that's been biting them in their butt. In fact, I have kids in the other room, so this is why my language is PG. But you may hear them in the background as I've asked them to be quiet, but the kids being kids are kind of bouncing around. So I digress. You do hear them on my podcast with some of the sound bites I give them. But they had 2 goals, the dreaded 2-goal lead when it was the Flyers were up 3-1 on this is what I kind of wrote down in my notes while watching the game. And in 4 games, they lost 2-goal leads. Once against Boston, once against the Devils, and twice against the Islanders. However, even though it was the Joel Farabee show, the Flyers took it in overtime once again. And in a game where officiating was a little bit one-sided, it was the officials who did make a call for the Flyers when Matthew Barzal had a high sticking penalty against Scott Lawton, and in the overtime. And with about a minute and change left to play, the Flyers went to work, and it was Giroux. The shot from Van Riemsdyk. Giroux got the rebound and looked to have a wonderful shooting opportunity, but the smart play, which is exactly what he did, and this is where you see like where Giroux is at his best when he's doing things like this. He could have shot that puck, and the Islanders defenseman, I don't remember who it was, had the shooting lane blocked as he came sliding over on his knees, had it blocked. So Giroux, as he's looking to shoot, quick pass to Hayes. Hayes drills it. Game over. 4 in a row. So now to the stars of that game was obviously Joel Farabee with his Hattie, JVR, and Kevin Hayes. And the notes were for the game that JVR had 3 assists. They ended up giving him and changing the one stat. He has 4 assists yesterday. Not last night, I'm sorry. He had 4 assists last night. 4 more points for JVR, who was finally playing at a level we all hoped when he re-signed here. He's playing great on the power play. His stick is as good as I've ever seen. Like that, the first Farabee goal, he knocked that play down. He's been knocking pucks out of the air a lot better than I've ever seen. Or maybe I'm just paying attention to him more, but he's knocking pucks down, knocked that puck right down to Beezer, and Beezer buries it. So it's a nice little run they're on. The Flyers have some problems. They have issues they got to fix. And although they took 2 from the Islanders, they did give them 2 points. But you know that's neither here nor there. The win's the win because those overtimes are gonna obviously whatever. It's a win's a win. But you know there's a couple things that you gotta think about. All right, and the puck clearing of their zone, the trouble with the Islanders' forecheck, the inability to get pucks deep against the Islanders. The Islanders did a great job when they the first game they started sealing off. Whenever a puck went in deep, it was like 2 Islanders were blocking, maybe even interfering with the Flyers trying to get to the puck. I think if the Flyers start moving their legs and trying to drive through them, they get the penalty call. But the officiating, we're going to get to that here in a second. But just that's the wrap up for the week. It's been a great start to the season. They're 7-2-1 in their first 10 games. Reminder: last year, the first month of their season, they were 5-5-1. So they picked up 4 points on where they were last season. They seem a little bit better, but they're playing really sloppy. And the previous night, Scotty Hartnell said they were the worst 6-2-1 team in the NHL, but they were a 6-2-1 team, and that's what we got to take away. AV's teams tend to get better as the year goes on. So if it progresses like it did last year, remember the November they had, the second month of the season, was fantastic. And if not for, some injuries and the bad news in December last year, who knows? But this year is a little bit different. We're shortened season. Once Coots get back, that's a major, major piece. The fourth line is playing at a level which is just way out of their heads. So, it's exciting. It's exciting. The Flyers, you never know what you're going to get, and they're still making it happen. So, again, there's concern, but no need to worry. The Flyers are a very good hockey team.
To all the Warriors, thank you for your service.
All right, in the Warriors news segment here, we're going to talk about the Flyers Warriors traveled to the Johnstown Arena, home of where the movie Slapshot was filmed, to take on the Johnstown Generals on the 16th of January, and the Flyers Warriors came home with a 9-1 victory. I was fortunate enough to be one of the players picked. I played in my first game with the Warriors, and it was a fantastic time. And on the way home, I was able to get a very interesting voicemail. Take a listen.
Daddy, you just scored a goal. We were watching you on LiveBar, and we just got home, so we decided to go watch your game. And we thought you passed it to someone. We didn't even know you had the puck. And then the puck ended up in the back of the net, and you raised your stick, and Mom was like, score!
So it was absolutely fun to get that voicemail from, that's my boy, and he was watching via the LiveBarn feed, thought I scored a goal. I did not. I just threw the puck on net, and it deflected in off of one of the other players who got the goal. So interesting and fun that now you can watch it via the cameras in the arenas, but it was neat that because they couldn't make the trip to come see the first game, they were able to watch it on there. You can also head over to my Twitter, where I have posted a lot of the LiveBarn feed and some of the highlights of the game for the Warriors. So follow along there. You can also go to Philly Sports Network, where I covered the game via writing about it, and take a look there. I also on that have some of the highlights and stuff mixed into the article. So it was a great, great game. Got to meet Steve Hansen. He's a big supporter of the veterans teams, especially the Johnstown Generals, and we thank the Johnstown Generals for their hospitality. So that's it for episode 3. I look to try to continue to do more of this podcast where I just start talking, and if I sound like an idiot, so be it. That's why I have the moniker Delco Dope. I hope you enjoyed it. Moving forward, I hope to get out more podcasts for you. Again, like I've said at the beginning of this, I've been doing a little bit too much perfectionism. Is that a word, perfectionism? Well, whatever it is now. Trying to be too much of a perfectionist. So we're just going to keep going with it. If I sound like make mistakes, we'll just have fun with it. So this episode is brought to you, as always, by Nolan's Poorhouse Coffee. Head on over to nolanspoorhouse.com. We have free domestic shipping on all orders $55 or more. Check out the different blends that might be suitable to you. Nolan's Poorhouse is a family-owned business. Craig and Kim Nolan and Don Flebby are all first responders, either law enforcement, a nurse, or in the medical field, and a firefighter. They know what it's like to be out there and tired, so they bring in a quality coffee product from Media, Pennsylvania. Head on over to nolanspoorhouse.com and order your coffee today.